giving money away. We're talking about loans.
She's wonderful, and she did my taxes this year, too.
Loans that people would like to be able to afford to pay back.
Yes, they would.
Every senior that's coming out of college is $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in debt when they graduate.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and used to you'd think, well, these are doctors and lawyers and folks that are going to go into high-income jobs.
No. Sometimes they're the President of the United States. Have you listened to President Obama since he was on Jimmy Fallon's show, which is interesting. He's taken a lot of heat from the Republicans that this was not a presidential thing for him to do.
Yeah,
but they brought out the old Reagan comedy routines.
Well, and, he's too cool to be president.
Yeah. But in this tour of the colleges that he's doing right now, he talks about the fact that he and Michelle Obama paid off their student loans about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Did you see the thing with Ann Romney, how she was saying that, neither her or Mitt had a job when they first got married, and he would just sell off a little piece of his investments, and that's what they would live off of?
Y'all,
that must have been marvelous.
The whole thing about
for them.
Okay. Let's get off that. I want to get to the Social Security number, because that's scary. What do you mean?
They were gathering all this election data for the voter ID lawsuit that's going on right now at the Supreme Court, and they had a bunch of Texans' Social Security numbers in their briefs with the election data, and it was opposing counsel that actually brought it to the Attorney General's attention and said, do you know what y'all just handed us? So, yeah.
Wait, the Social Security numbers became public record?
In a sense, yes.
So anybody can
go to the
they amended their briefs. So they amended their briefs.
Okay.
But it was opposing counsel that showed the AG's office what they had done.
So the Texas Attorney General.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Good job there, Greg.
It's the first time that
Did he graduate from college?
Problem.
Has he paid off his student loans?
Who is it, by the way? Who is that? Who is the Texas?
Greg
Abbott. Yeah, and he aspires for bigger offices.
Oh, he wants to be a senator.
And somebody recently was describing him as a hack. Who was that?
A hack.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, he's not a very good hack because he leaked out all of our Social Security numbers. Now we've got to go to one of these identity protection services and protect our Social Security.
Might need to look into, what ties he has to those.
That's
well, it's coming down to us and them. And I say that in this way. In politics, who is even saying anything that would benefit you as a voter? If someone is trying to help you, then I believe you should vote that way and try to keep these people in office so that they can continue to
that was the old way of doing things, wasn't it?
To help, yes. And
but see, now that's a bunch of right-wing liberal tree-hugging. we get accused of, when you start talking about helping people, but we're not. I mean, the student loans, everything that we're talking about. What are you saying over there, Vicki?
The word is investing.
Investing. In people. Yeah. Or as corporations with their programs of the day, they value people. And whenever that scared me. I worked in industry for 32 years. When they came out with one of the programs of the day, they said valuing people, and made you feel all warm and fuzzy, like they cared about you and stuff like that.
Yes, in terms like ownership, taking ownership.
Right. And what it turned out was as this thing went on, I realized that they're good. They don't lie. They were valuing people. They figured out what we all were worth.
And a lot of companies were actually taking life insurance policies against people.
Oh yeah.
And
so whenever your company values you that way and figures out what your value is and what you're worth, then what they actually end up doing is putting you in that formula of cost-benefit analysis. if I get rid of this guy, what's it going to cost me? What's the benefit? And then they can increase their bottom line, and then all of a sudden we saw the shrinkage. You know,
Get rid of as in death panels?
No.
Yeah, you just
no. And they did
you
it.
become a number instead of a human being.
Right, but they did it in a I guess a friendly way, because they didn't lay anybody off, because these people are very patient. What they did is they did it through, quote, attrition. Which
right.
meant that as a person who gave them their whole life and gave them, you know, probably most of the time that they lost with their families, and, you know, risk being in a chemical plant and all the dangers involved in that for 30 plus years.
Laughing matter.
Right. And then they retired, but what they did is they didn't replace them. And so then they would absorb those jobs by splitting up little pieces of it and giving it to everybody else. And now everybody is just kind of the walking dead. You know, they're tired, they're brain dead. And the scary part, the scary part about it is that they got knobs on pieces of equipment that'll actually blow up. And so, I saw the shrinkage, and they did it through attrition. So no one got laid off. They just didn't hire. So
really, only the really strong survive in that environment. You really got to give the people that survive in that environment credit.
Well, and we live in an area that's loaded with chemical plants and refineries and stuff like that, and that's where our income comes from.
Where the cancer belt.
We have the highest rate of cancer in the country, right here in Southeast Texas.
What more, other than war situations, what bigger sacrifice can a person make, a man or a woman, than to go to a place every day to make a living knowing that the health risks, so that they can make a living for their family? You know, knowing that at the end of all this, they're probably going to be sick, really sick.
That some person they sent over to turn that valve knows absolutely nothing about it, and could blow up half of a town because of this attrition deal, instead of hiring another technician.
The training programs, and you see it in industry, and these are the same people that are saying, I've run businesses, I know how to do this, you can make me president, or you can make me a senator, or you can make me a congressman. And these are the folks that are going to bring that same philosophy of how to do it. And the first thing they did in industry was they cut training dollars, which is education, adult education. We don't have to spend that much money. We'll put them on the job. They cut the time in half to train people, because if you were double teaming them doing on-the-job training, it costs more money. And so once a person could follow the procedures, connect the dots, and then they made them process operators or mechanics or whatever they were doing. But the problem is when a system gets outside the procedural boundaries, which that's what systems do when they get out of control, they don't know what to do. And so we're seeing a larger number of explosions and fires in refineries and petrochemical companies, and those are acceptable. That's the cost-benefit analysis.
And we're seeing a lot of deaths too, though.
Yeah, that's true.
We cannot, the federal government cannot operate like a business. It will never work, it never has worked. Government can and has to, in many cases, run debt for certain causes.
Henry, when you say they can incorporate business philosophy, because to manage that kind of money, you
eliminate
have to
some waste, yes.
Right, but you have to keep in mind, your product is the protection of the American citizens. Your product is people, and you can't do that cost-benefit analysis, because what you're saying when you have acceptable losses is there's a certain number of people that we will accept that are going to be hurt by this. And that's not we the people, for the people, by the people.
Yes.
That's a totally different way of running this country, and people should object to that.
When you were speaking earlier, Mr. Lowe, about we elected, I'm not so sure I elected any of them, but we elected these people, these legislatures, these congressmen, to do the business of the people. The people that elected them to, I don't think they elected them to do that. I think that because this huge group of the anti-government type mentalities that are now in our legislatures and in our United States Congress and Senate, we didn't, the people that elected them, that's what they wanted. They want this slash and burn ideology. They want to turn us into Arizona. The United States will look like Arizona. And if you've ever read any literature on Arizona and their government and how they operate, it's just like a wasteland. They put no money at all. They have a highly Republican-controlled legislature, and they do not invest in their people at all. And that's the thing that frightens me, is that people that are voting now and voting for what we have in especially in our local government and our state government, the Republican Party and Tea Party has convinced them that that's what they should want. What we have right now, what's going on in our Texas legislature, slash the education budget, slash everything. Not anything for our people.
And I would be willing to bet that there are people that are benefiting from what legislation that has been passed by the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And they will go in that booth and vote Republican. Mm-hmm. They don't realize that benefit is going to be cut off, because they made no bones about saying, we're going to cut it, we're going to get rid of it. But
the Paul Ryan budget says it all. It really truly does. And that's what I don't understand about the people that are voting the way they're voting now. Should be voting for Democrats, because that's what the Democratic Party has always believed in, and we are. And those people have benefited for many years from the programs and policies that the Democratic Party put in place for we the people. East Texas has produced some of the most dynamic legislatures, in the state of Texas. We don't have that anymore. We don't have any dynamic people with a vision. They've all bought into this Reichstag ideology of we've been in a war for how many years? That's all anybody has talked about for years. Everybody's been, constantly in a state of hypervigilancy all the time that the government's out to get them, and this kind of conversation that goes on constantly within our grocery stores, at Walmart, at an antique shop in Lumberton, Texas, on these 24-hour news cycles, in the public school system, 24/7.
Anti-government.
It has got to. We have got to break through that barrier somehow. We really do, and we have got to start speaking out.
Common sense needs to take over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you've got, why would a president of the United States, you think that they say that President Obama doesn't want gas to go down. President Obama is no president wants that for their country. Mm-hmm. But that kind of conversation is first and foremost in everything. And I've had 3 people call me within the last 2 weeks that have been voting Republican. It tickles me to death, because slowly people are beginning to see the difference. They're beginning to, our little gray-headed ladies that are receiving Social Security checks are now beginning to think, uh-oh.
It may not be there.
It may not be there. And if you have any kind of intellect at all and can read something in the paper or on the internet, you got to know. You can read what the Republican Party wants now.
Just go to Fox News.
They're out of control, and we have got to stop it somehow.
They're being called on a lot of things lately. A lot of misstatements. There's people that are being called to task over misquotes, and so we're beginning to see a little bit of that.
Well, but what they have been doing, because if you go back and you look, it's been a long process.
30 years worth, Mark.
Yeah, and it really started not at the top, and we're kind of all over the map right now. And I know Henry, he's got some information that I